let's look at the three main types of variables in Roblox. So there are three main types, and there's also more variables, but these are just the ones that we are going to be focusing on for this tutorial because they're the easiest ones to comprehend. So first things first, what is a variable? So a variable in math, let's first understand what a variable in math is. So in math, a variable could be equal to a number. So you have a variable like x, and you say it's equal to 1, and now x plus 2 is equal to 3. And you know that because x is equal to 1, so this is actually 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Very simple. And now it's the same in code. So let's just see code variable var short for variable. So you have x, and x can be equal to 1. And now, instead of you having to do this math, the machine can do it for you. X plus 2 is equal to, and then you can just write that basically. And then the computer would just look at this and convert this into ones and zeros. And then read this and basically do what you would do right here. The computer would read it as x is equal to 1. So then x plus 2 is equal to 1 plus 2, which is equal to 3. The same thing that you would do, but the computer just does that for you, and it makes your time a little bit easier. And you can see that there's not too much differences from the two variables. So now we are going to be looking at exactly how you create, or the three main types of variables in code, because we mentioned the three types of variables, or at least three main types, because there's more types of variables. We're just covering the three types for now. So what are they? So first things first, we have our classic x is equal to 1, and that's just our classic variable. We can call this a number variable. And now number variable is pretty self-explanatory. It's a variable that is equal to a number. So x can be equal to negative 3.7. X can be equal to just plain number, and x can be equal to a decimal like this. So let's just say 2.1, and then x can just be equal to just a plain negative number. So x could be equal to, let's say, 6. This is everything that x can be equal to. The three main types of number variables: negative, positive, and decimals. And you can use pretty much all of the combinations. Obviously can't be negative and positive at the same time, unless like it's a quantum computer, I don't know. But yeah, that's basically what a number variable is. Now, what a text variable. This is most commonly known as a string variable, because that's just how it works. So what a string variable is is x can be equal to, well, let's use a different color actually, because this is getting boring. X can be equal to hello. And now x is equal to hello. So if we do x plus world is equal to, well, x plus world is equal to hello world, because hello, if we add world to the end of hello, then we get hello world. And that is basically how the string variable works. You have a variable and you assign it some text. So you could just assign it hello world, for example. And that is how a string variable works. It is a variable that is equal to text instead of a number. And now that we know two variables, you might be asking to yourself, what else is there? We basically covered everything. Well, the third variable is a bit tricky. It's the Boolean variable. Now you can call it other stuff like the binary variable, but the binary variable, like, that's just not the standard term. It's just called the Boolean variable. So just call it the Boolean and you will be just fine. So what is it? Well, the Boolean variable, you know, computers just read ones and zeros. So this is what a computer sees when it looks at anything, basically. Just looks at ones and zeros. So what a Boolean variable is, x can be equal to 1 or x can be equal to 0. And those are the only two possibilities x can be equal to, because a computer only reads it as two possibilities, so x can be equal to only two possibilities, two different things. So that is what a Boolean variable is, except you write a Boolean variable a bit differently than you would think. Instead of saying x is equal to 1, this is incorrect. You need to write x is equal to true. This is correct. Now, it is a tiny bit weird why this is better than this, but it's because Roblox will think that this is supposed to be a number variable. But it is not a number variable. So just to give Roblox a bit of an easier time understanding what this is, we just need to write it as x is equal to true or x is equal to false. This is equal to 1, this is equal to 0. You can just picture it in your head, and the computer would read this as 1 and the computer would read this as 0. But you can't write 1 or 0 because Roblox will think that this is equal to number. Even though it isn't, it is equal to binary. Just binary. So that is what a Boolean is. Boolean could be x is equal to true or x is equal to false. Only two possibilities. There's only two possibilities for x. So just remember that. Now, you know all the basic variables. Let's just cover them. Basic variables. There is 3 of them. There is the string. There is the number. And there is the Boolean. Those are the 3 basic variables, in my opinion. There are other types of variables. Once again, a variable could be equal to, for example, an object in the game can be equal to something weird like a vector 3, which is just 3 numbers. This is kind of complicated. It's basically used for keeping the position or rotation or whatever can be represented in 3 different variables instead of 1 variable. But we're not going to worry about any of these because we are just focusing once again on the string variable, the number variable, and the Boolean variable for this episode. And next episode we will be covering how to use this in code. And once we learn how to use this in code, we will start learning like if statements plus other things until we cover the x can be equal to base plate thing. Because this is confusing and we don't need to know why or how this works anytime soon. So yeah, that's just the basics of the basic variables. Once again, sorry about that. You know what? Let's just use white canvas. It can be equal to a string, can be equal to a number, and it can be equal to a Boolean. Those are the 3 basic variables, so always remember these 3 variables and how to use them, and we'll be using them in code very soon, so don't worry. See you in the next episode.